analizar la rueda de prensa de la secretaria de Estado Hillary Clinton, tema Honduras. Vamos a tomarnos unos minutos para conversar con ella, para ver qué más, cómo ve esta negociación, qué piensa del gobierno de Venezuela, hacia dónde va este socialismo del siglo XXI, la defensa de la libertad de expresión. ¿Qué piensa de esta nueva administración? De inmediato, la secretaria de Estado, Hillary Clinton.
How does it feel to be a former First Lady and now a Secretary of State?
It feels very good, thank you. And I want to welcome you to the State Department. I also want to, in this format, wish Venezuela a happy Independence Day. I learned that your Independence Day is just one day after our Independence Day. So we have a lot to celebrate. 198 years of independence for Venezuela. So I want to wish all the people of Venezuela my very, very best.
Thank you. Thank you. Are you satisfied with the step taking place in Honduras to resolve their political problems?
I'm very concerned about what happened in Honduras. We are supporting the return of the democratic constitutional order to Honduras. I have just finished meeting with President Zelaya, and I and my team have been working very hard the last 9 days to bring about a mediation process so that all who are involved in this from Honduras can sit down and work out their disagreements peacefully. President Oscar Arias from Costa Rica has stated his willingness to serve as the mediator, and President Zelaya told me he would agree, and the de facto caretaker president, Micheletti, has said he would agree. So we're hoping that the mediation process will begin in Costa Rica very soon, and that the parties will put everything on the table, and that we will have a peaceful resolution to this very unfortunate situation.
For the Obama administration, what would you consider the most sensitive topic regarding Latin America?
I think that there are so many issues that join us together as neighbors in this hemisphere. And we are concerned about the economic situation. We want to help Latin America and individual countries be able to handle the economic global recession. We would like to get economic growth going again and have it more equitably distributed so that more people have a chance to lift themselves and their children out of poverty. We are concerned about the ongoing threat to sovereign governments from criminal cartels, the narco-traffickers and the gangs and the other elements like militias that support these criminal organizations pose a grave threat to the stability and sovereignty and democracy of nations in our hemisphere.
If I mention to you issues like separation of power, human rights, political freedom, freedom of speech, civil and political rights, which one will you consider the weakest or the most fragile those days in Latin America?
Well, you have just listed many of the most important concerns that we have about our hemisphere. We think it's imperative that people's rights be respected, that there be separation of powers, and that different institutions within countries' governments have clearly defined roles that they are able to exercise. We support freedom of expression throughout our hemisphere. We are against the arbitrary use and abuse of power that would lead to political prisoners being confined. Because everything that you have mentioned mentioned is part of what makes up a vibrant democracy. Democracy is not just about elections. Democracy is about how governments are organized, whether they are able to protect the rights of minorities, whether people of different political persuasions have the right to speak out without fear of being persecuted, whether there's an independent judiciary and an independent press. All of these are parts of what make democracies dynamic and lasting. So whenever one of those is under attack, others are often under attack as well.
Considering that freedom of speech is a duty in the development of institutional order and the democratic practice in Latin America, what would be an official U.S. call if our government, the Venezuelan government, shut down permanently an independent media, and it continues to chase journalists both legally and by official rhetoric?
Well, let me say that for the United States, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the press is a fundamental value. Now, I have been in politics for a very long time, and I probably have been subjected to as much press criticism as anyone you can find. And yet I know that this is an important part of our democracy. You know, when you're in politics sometimes and you think you're trying to do what is right for the people who you represent, it is easy to look at anyone who criticizes you as being out of bounds and that they have no right to do that. But you cannot let the political concerns of any party or candidate or elected official undermine the freedom of expression, because at the end of the process, whoever is elected and whoever is in office needs constructive criticism. Otherwise, it's like you're talking to yourself. Am I doing a good job? Oh, yes, you're doing a good job, you know? Right. That's not a way to run a democracy. So we are very supportive of the freedom of speech, press, the media, individuals, political parties. And I do think that in your country, like other countries, there has to be protection for the press against political opposition.
We are living in a multipolar world. We see new political alliances and new economical partnerships. In this regard, how do you perceive the liaison between Iran and Venezuela?
Well, I think that we have seen in the last weeks that Iran has not respected its own democracy. It has taken actions against its own citizens for peacefully protesting what they viewed as irregularities in the voting process. And I think it is, not a very smart position to align oneself with a regime that is being rejected by so many of their own people. We obviously are concerned about Iran's regime, the pursuit of nuclear weapons, which would be very destabilizing in the Middle East and beyond, the support for terrorism that Iran still pursues. We are willing to engage. So we would never tell another country you cannot do business with, the regime of Iran in order to figure out ways of helping to change their behavior. But we think it is not in the best interests of the world to be doing business with Iran to promote the regime. That is not smart. And so even though we are cautiously pursuing a policy of engagement, we are doing it with our eyes open. And we understand that given the problems that Iran has just demonstrated, it may not be possible, in which case we would ask the world to join us in imposing even stricter sanctions on Iran to try to change the behavior of the regime.
Talking about business, if your administration satisfied with our legal framework to secure and protect the American investment in Venezuela?